Welcome to SKaL, Sports, Knowledge, and Life. Let's learn, let's apply, and let's scale up. Hey, welcome to SKaL, Sports, Knowledge, and Life. This is a community for student athletes where we come together and we share our knowledge and talk about our journey. Today, I have a special guest with me today. We have Laila Shareef. Laila, welcome to SKaL.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Happy to have you on. You're my first female student athlete, so thanks so much for taking your time out to join us today. So I really, really appreciate it. So before we get started, I just want to check on where are you right now mentally? Like how are you feeling how you feeling in your mental space right now?
I feel like I'm in a good mental space. I have always been a more, positive person and seeing the glass half full rather than half empty. So I feel like I'm in a good place. Everyone has their days, but I am a person who acknowledges my feelings, recognize them, and then move on from them. Try not to sit in feelings that are not comfortable. Overall, doing well.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Thanks for sharing. Happy to hear that you're in a good mental space right now. That's great. It's very important. As we know right now in this society we live in, this is a real big topic that people kind of gloss over, and I'm glad we're kind of making it. We're bringing it to the forefront, which I think is very important. So thanks for sharing your space.
Definitely a tough time nowadays with everything going on, but you gotta stay positive and keep pushing. That's what I try to do, at least.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, sounds good. All right, so we're gonna dive right in. All right. So my first question for you is just I kind of want you to kind of take us through your journey before pre-high school. Like what sports did you play? What positions did you play? Where did you get the passion to even want to be an athlete?
Okay. So I started out, my first sport was soccer. My family, my oldest brother, so I have 9 siblings. But not my oldest brother. One of my brothers, he started playing soccer, so all of us kind of fell into line. So that was my first sport. I think maybe 3rd or 4th grade or something like that. So I did soccer, and then the next thing I got into was basketball. So I did those for the longest. I think soccer was a good starting place for me, for coordination and everything, because I feel like that's good in stamina and stuff. So soccer. Then I got into basketball. In high school. And also in high school, I did volleyball as well as track and field. Track and field, I started my sophomore year. I quit my sophomore year. And then started track and field.
Okay.
Track and field, my events, I long jump, triple jump, open 2, 4x2, 4x4, open 4. And then volleyball, I don't know what I played. I was just out there because I could be.
Right. So you're pretty tall. So what's your height?
Yeah, I am 5'8.5".
5'8". Okay.
A lot of people think I'm taller than that, but it's an illusion. I have long limbs, but
yeah, I thought you were 6 foot or at least 5'11".
No, I'm 5'8.5".
Okay.
Well, I mean, with the ponytail, I could be 6 foot.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your journey pre-high school. So now that you got us to your high school phase, you talked about playing basketball and also playing volleyball in high school and also track and field. So did you play soccer at all, or you didn't even attempt to play soccer in high school?
Soccer, I played competitively, they kind of on a travel team, I guess the AAU of soccer. So in high school, I think I played my freshman year for the team, and I just was ready to be in a different environment. So I just quit sophomore year. So I played 1 year as a freshman, and then stopped playing and picked up track and field. I just needed a change of pace.
Right. Okay, so now you're in high school, right? So you're in high school now. You have 3 sports that you're kind of focusing on right now. So kind of talk through your high school journeys, like as playing sport, being a student athlete as well. So kind of shed some light into your academic journey as well as you playing, running track and field, playing basketball, and also volleyball. I think volleyball comes first, right? The track is like almost year round, right? Track and field for the most part, volleyball, then basketball, I think.
Yeah. So my main focus was basketball because that's what I loved the most.
Okay.
So the track and field was something I just wanted to try. Volleyball was definitely something that I just wanted to. That was probably like at the bottom. I was just like, I could do it, so I can, But I always wanted to stay active, so that's why I joined so many, sports teams. Man, I was athletic enough to do it.
Right.
But and then what it taught me like mentally was how to balance like your athletic life and your academic life. That's where it first started for me because you had to be eligible to play. So you had to go to class, you had to get the grades and everything. So that is something that pretty much like I did decent at. But I will say it wasn't until college that I really had to utilize it. And it's just because you have way less structure when you're in college. So, with sports, it's like, okay, school, class, after school, go to sports, games, come home, do homework, get back up, do it again. And it was very kind of like routine. So as long as I had picked up the routine, like I was okay, So that's how I kind of.
Okay, so it sounds like you had a pretty, I don't say smooth, but you were able to learn that balance of being a student as well as being an athlete in high school because you played 3 sports and you also knew that you had to keep your grades up in order to play in those sports. And you kind of learn how, you work and, the daily, kind of routine, so to speak. So I do want to ask, did you have a job at all while you were in high school or were you solely, a student and you also play sports?
Oh, I did have a job like during the summertime. So yeah, I had a lot of jobs. I was working since I was like 12. Yeah. Well, so we went through this program that was like through a community center in our neighborhood. And so we were basically making like $2.15 an hour. Like we weren't making anything, but I started at a library shelving books and but that program allowed me to, make money. And it allowed me to do other things like I worked at a golf course. I worked at a rec center. So, but usually it was always like during the summertime. And then, so that's where it was. It was a lot.
Okay.
And then, I also worked at like Six Flags during the summer. And it was a lot. So
okay, so your work mainly was in the summer, not really during the school year or through the school year, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't really interfere with you having practice, work on your game because you're at work. You can't, not saying you would have missed practice, but like they say, I know for me, I worked throughout high school, and one thing my dad would always say, like, man, you go to work, on Saturday and Sunday, but if you use those hours to go work on your free throws or, work on this or work on that, how much better would you be? And I always thought, like, man, like, but at the time, I needed money to buy certain things and get the kind of shoes I want or clothes I want or gas money, things of that nature. So okay, that's good. So in high school or even just, prior to high school, did you experience any like injuries or anything that may have caused any like delay or you had to miss any games or miss practice, or were you kind of like, man, I was good. I didn't have no injuries. I was solid.
Fortunately, I did not have any major injuries in high school. I mean, I had, a sprained ankle or something like that, but my ankles were like rubber bands, so they would just bounce back up. And so I would just, keep them wrapped. And so I had nothing major that like set me back. I was blessed in that area in high school. Now going forward, that's a different story.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to the college years. But
I did like. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I did learn a lot about injuries and stuff because my school offered like a first aid program. So I also or classes, and I also took those. So that has helped me to know how to treat my body, like if something is going wrong, or if I feel something, I'm like, okay, this is what this, I need to do rest ice, compression, elevation, wrap my own ankle and stuff like that. So that helped me a lot. And I also like help my teammates out with that type of stuff too.
Right. That's very important. Our body's important, in sports. And, there's a quote I actually read once, and it's funny because it said, he was referring to basketball. And he was like, it's funny because they say the game is 90% mental and 10% physical. I mean, the physical is very important, but also the mental is so important. However, someone's mental health doesn't get the same attention as someone's ACL or tearing something or breaking something. So that was definitely a good point that you made.
And my coach was very good, was very good with our mental health. Like I remember the first time being introduced to visualizations and sort of meditations before games and practices. He would have somebody come in, we would all lay on the floor, close our eyes, visualize like what we need to do. And at that time, I was like, what are we doing? Like I would fall asleep because I'm like, it was relaxing, but I never understood like the power of that until later on in my, college career and everything. So that was where I was first introduced to it. And I think that kind of steered me in a direction that we can get to in the future that I am in now.
Okay, perfect. And that was in high school, right?
That was in high school. That was my first time being introduced to that. And I was like, what is that? Like this.
Yeah. Kudos to your high school coach, man. That's amazing. Yeah. So all right. So my next question I want to ask you is, what challenges did you have while being a student athlete in high school? Just in high school. Did you have any challenges that you had to overcome? And if you did, what were they? And then how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, so I was born and raised Muslim. So like during, Ramadan, we would have to fast. And so I was fasting while going to school and playing all types of sports. And that itself was like a really big challenge for me. So like I remember even being in practice and I'm like, all right, coach, like, is it time for me to break my fast? Like, so yeah, I was out there. And so they would be like in the middle of the drill, but I would really just kind of focus because if you think about it, it's going to keep eating at you. So I would try to not think about it, but I would check on every time, like, okay, what time is it? But they were pretty good about just being like, all right, Laila, go eat, come back, like, And so that was a challenge. Coming from a big family, like sometimes having to make my way to certain practices or games, my mom, there was 7 of us in the house, same household. So my mom could not give us all the, attention and ride that we need. So just being able to, make your way through to practices, to games and stuff like that, if, the school didn't provide you. And then I think socially, you had to really be focused to not get distracted into like social settings and stuff that can get you like into trouble. So I tried to, steer clear that. And then, academics, I think it's all just being a teenager, you know, those basic things that teenagers go through.
Yeah.
And that's major.
So you mentioned social life and trying to stay clear, clear of getting in any kind of trouble, but I think it's also important to have like a balance, right? Like a healthy balance. Like, you don't want to be going to all the parties every Friday, Saturday, but I mean, you want to have friends you can hang out with, do sleepovers, or go to the mall or something like that. So did you kind of create like
a balance? Yeah, I definitely kicked it. I definitely was social. I definitely hung out. I definitely did my fair share of social activities. But I don't know. I feel like though I've always had a different kind of mindset, so I never really got consumed in it. If that makes sense. Like I was social, but I didn't care enough to like have to be social. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I just, and then my parents they weren't, they were kind of strict, so it was still like I don't want to get in trouble, so like I'm gonna kick it till 12, but I got curfew.
12, that's not bad. 12 o'clock. I mean, I don't know what my curfew was, but I'm sure it was probably buried on the night, or how I'm doing with my grades and stuff like that. But
and but I gradually, grew into that. Like my freshman year, it was more, you just learning things. But by my senior year, like we out here.
All right, cool. All right, so you're playing sports in high school. You're balancing your grades. You're playing multiple sports. So did you have any aspirations to play at the next level? And if so, what sport were you looking at? Really trying to get that scholarship to play. I mean, we all want to go to college for free, and if you can play sport and get it for free, why not? So kind of speak to that, and then kind of speak to that. Go ahead.
For me, that was the motive. Like I knew that there was probably no other way for me to get to college and play on the next level without a scholarship. Like I said, I came from a big family, so that was like something that was kind of unheard of. And then for like my sister, she got a track and field scholarship. So it was either the basketball or track and field. But however, I didn't take track and field as serious as I took basketball. So, and I knew I wanted to play at the next level. I just didn't know how it all worked. So I just kind of just was like, all right, like, let me just figure it out as I go. Because I didn't really have anyone that was giving me direction as far as like, okay, you need to do this to get to here. You need to do that to get to here. I was just basically like fumbling my way through it and trial and error, a lot of learning experience. And that's where I end up, taking the journey that I took. Because if I knew what I knew now, I would have been a whole different.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So,
but I'm blessed for the journey that I did take.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're still here, we're breathing, we're healthy. So we gotta just be fortunate to be where we are today. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. You can just kind of flesh out or go into a little bit more details about your journey and how you got trying to enhance your recruitment opportunities. You said you didn't have like a real mentor, or maybe coach wasn't like, hey, Laila, you're definitely going to play at the next level. Let's do this. Like, did you play AAU ball? Did you do travel ball? Like what steps did you take? Even though you didn't have guidance, but what did you do that you were able to fumble your way into like getting recruited, getting letters, and getting that scholarship?
So AAU definitely helped, because I feel like that was how I kind of got my name out there a little bit. And I was, I wasn't the all-star player, but I was a good player. So I wasn't on the top recruiting list, but if you see me play, then you could see something in there. But so I definitely did like a lot of AAU, played, tournaments in Vegas and summer ball and stuff like that. And that kind of just catapulted me. I honestly don't know how I ended up getting the scholarship that I got. I don't know how the coach found me or anything, but with just AAU and high school basketball, and we were a pretty good high school basketball team. So, and we were in the I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and we were in the 5A league, which is like our top league. I don't know.
Y'all up there. So sorry to cut you off. If my apologies. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, I don't know what else.
Oh, I was gonna ask you too, because you touched on something that was like, you talked about playing in Vegas, like going to a tournament in Vegas, and things that I wish I would have known was going to Vegas. Vegas is like, you go there in the summer, you play, you probably get ranked like, okay, you did great one game, now you're ranked number 145 in the country. And so like, talk about that experience. Like, how did you find out about it? How did you did you pay for it? Was it free? Did a coach or a team sponsor you? And then how was that, if you can recall that experience, like being in Vegas and playing, like, did it kind of get you that, were you getting more letters from coaches and from different schools? I
know I played in Vegas at least 3 times. Two, I think 2 was my high school, maybe it was twice. I know I went with AAU, and that was a team that my community put together, which honestly, like my community rec center had a lot to do with like just the development, because there was a lot of things, even from just social standards, as far as like growing up in Denver. Like, we went skiing and we went white water rafting. Like, I probably would have never done that if it wasn't for these programs. So community programs are like very, very important, just with the growth of kids anyway. So our community rec center put together a team, the Glenarm, and which was actually, now that I think about it, like my first team that I played on for basketball. So I just kind of stuck with them, and they knew me from that. So they put together, different women from different high schools, and we would go. I mean, it was, and I think that was my first time. It was an experience. We didn't play very well, but like the experience was good. And then the next time was with our high school team. And with both of those, they did pay for like our tickets or something like that. We just had to come up with some type of, I can't remember how much, but we didn't have to come up with a lot of money to do it. We were little inner city kids that really didn't have much, but we had to come up with that. I know we did some fundraising at my high school. We would work like football games, like the Broncos games and stuff like that, to raise money for us to go. So I think that was a part of it. However, we didn't do very well in that because we were too busy trying to be social. And so our team got in trouble because we decided to go out on the strip when we were supposed to be in our room. Like, I'm sorry, team, I told on us. So we didn't do very well. So like the starter players kind of got benched, and we wasn't really able to hang on. But another life lesson that we learned there, like, you really have to be focused, and you really, gotta abide by the rules and guidelines, because they're in a place for a reason. And that's, if you don't, you lose.
Right. And so you talked about having older siblings that also play sports. So this question is more so around like your support system and helping guiding you, academically as well as athletically. So like you said, your sister received a scholarship to play, track and field in college. So like, was she like a support to you and like, hey, Laila, you need to do this, and take this exam, and then go talk to this person and this counselor? Or were you still like, man, I was on my own, I just had to just
I was still just kind of figuring it out, because she was figuring it out too. And we're like a year apart. So we went to different high schools. And so like she was on a different journey than me. So we were kind of just still figuring it out.
Different high schools.
Yeah. So
I mean, you gotta go into detail like that unless you want.
No, it's fine. They like we got to choose our high school, and she went to another high school, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go to that high school. I want to go to this high school.
Oh,
So
okay.
I went to the other high school,
Okay.
and um, just because I kind of wanted to be in my own lane anyway, too. So that,
Right.
that had a lot to do with it. In hindsight, I probably should have just went to the same high school and probably did the same thing, but your journey is your journey. So you just
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So now let's get to the crunch. Like, I want to know, how did you secure that scholarship? Like, because I met you, I know I didn't mention before we started, so I do know you. When I went to
Mhm.
the fourth school that I went to play ball, you were
Mhm.
also in that same city, same apartment complex that we lived in, but you went to a different school, which is like literally like a mile apart from my school.
Right.
Um, so I know you did play at the college level. So just kind of talk about, how did you secure? I think you mentioned it earlier about, like, you don't know how it came about, it just kind of came, but just kind of talk through, did you have any other like schools that wanted you, like junior college or other 4-year schools, or like just kind of talk about having to make that decision, and then, like, what did you
Yeah.
decide and how did you decide?
So I did start out at the junior college.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went there for 2 years, and this is where it got a little dicey because
So,
because I did not understand the college journey. Like nobody kind of really sat. I knew I needed to go to college to get an education. I didn't know like the steps I needed to do when I got there, if that makes sense. So it was very much a learning curve for me. So I ended up going to school in Nebraska, Western Nebraska, whatever. And we were actually really good. We went to I guess we went to
states
the
or nationals or
yeah, we went to national or whatever. Both years no, on my first year. So like I said before, like college and having to structure your life and be disciplined, like I really didn't do that because it was a lot more freedom
Mhm,
and it was a lot more partying, I guess, for me, and just a not understanding like what I needed to do for college.
mhm.
So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how they found me. I don't know. I'm assuming it's from the AAU or whatever. I just know I got a call one day and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna give you just a full ride scholarship if you go to this." I said, "Well, I'm going because how else am I gonna get to college?
Right.
I don't, get a scholarship." So I went, and it was one of the best and worst times because I didn't have direction at that time. I'll say that. So I basically failed like my my first year. Like I played, but like to go back to school, like I didn't pass my classes because I was out there doing wrong. So
Uh-huh.
or just being young and naive
Mhm.
and even just from the classes that I was taking, I got there, but they put me in these classes that weren't challenging me, so I didn't really take them seriously. And then some of them, like I tested out of them, was like, this is just way too easy for me. Like, 'cause they made my schedule, they did all that stuff for me. Like, I really didn't have
Might
a
say so.
yeah or not like or just I just didn't know what I was doing really. I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain it. I really just didn't know. And so after that first year, which basketball wise was good, but
Yeah.
then they were like, yeah, but you didn't make your grades to pay this next season. You're gonna have to sit out. And they offered me to like redshirt, but I was like, I don't want to redshirt. Like I want to be, like I want to take this year so I can go. Which
Yeah.
I probably should have just sat out a year, but I was like, I sat out the semester
Uh-huh.
and then made my grade and played at the end of the semester.
Okay.
However, that was not good for me, like basketball wise, because now the team is established, everybody's positioned. So now
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
coming, you know, off the bench where at one point, like I was starting and all that stuff. So, Yeah, so that was really, really hard for me.
Man, that's a gem. Like, I did play JUCO, but I didn't go out of high school to play at a junior college. But wow, like what you just said was like very important. That's why I want to highlight it. Like you said, freshman year, you're kind of, you weren't really focusing on your school. But you played that first season. When you came to your sophomore year, you're like, hey, your grades aren't looking so good. Coaches advise like, hey, just redshirt. And the red shirt sounded like they would still pay for you to go to school. Like they were still going to pay for you. Like it wasn't going to take out loans. It's like red shirt, and then your next year. Maybe I'm wrong, but
they didn't want to pay.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's even
that
so
first semester. That was the only time that I had to pay for my school. And luckily, it was at a JUCO because I wasn't playing. So basically, I lost the scholarship too.
See, that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, that it's not guaranteed. Like
not at
I
all.
even learned, one thing, and sorry to cut off, and this is your time. Like I learned after I finished playing sports that scholarships was on a year-to-year basis. Like I always thought, like, okay, you get your grades, get your stats up, you get a scholarship for your school, boom, you sign. Like once you sign, put your hat on or whatever, however you sign, verbally, handshake or whatever, yes, that's 4 years. And it's like, no. You have to perform and do well. You have to play and in the sport you play, and coach will renew it on an annual basis. Now for me, I was fortunate. I never had to talk about, hey, Dowda, money looking funny. And it's always, so I always thought it was automatic. I thought it was like, okay, I'm coming to your school, it's automatic. But I learned like, no. Now I did read that I think in 2015, I forgot what year, don't quote me, I have it in my little notepad, but they do like some like major schools can offer like a student like 4 years up front, but typically it's on a year to year. So just to keep highlighting, but yeah, that's another highlight. So,
yeah, that was something I learned too. And my mom and dad were not happy with that. Yeah. So all that I learned within that first year and a half or whatever. And as far as like the physical aspect of like just going to college, and we were an elite team,
right?
Way different. Like waking up basically 5 a.m. to run, to class, to practice, to night class, like just so all that stuff like was took a toll, I guess. And I wasn't focused. I didn't have the direction that I needed. Like I just was like, I'm just here to play basketball, and and this is what I'm going to do. Until they was like, just kidding, you ain't make the grades.
Grades, yeah. And I tell people all the time, like grades are just as important as how good you are. Now, I always say there's some elite individuals, some people who are elite. It's like, hey, listen, I'm doing 1 year and I'm on to the next level. Then, okay, you come in, you show up, and you don't show up, and you play one, and you go to the league. But the majority of us, like we have to come with the package. Like, coaches don't want to babysit us in the classroom or on the court or swimming or whatever sport you're playing. But so continue on with your story. I want to look, because I'm learning this as well too. So you chose not to redshirt. The first semester you had to sit out because your grades weren't up to par. You finally buckled down, got it right. But that semester you had to pay.
Oh no, I cannot have this. I cannot have a scholarship. Like a switch turned in my head, and I was like, this is what I gotta do. Yeah.
Right. So you end up sitting out, pay your own way, and then next semester, coach, all right, you're back. Money's back on. Money back on, and now you're playing. But like you said, they've already built that kind of chemistry because they've been playing. Coach has, the coach had their rotations of the little 8-man or 8-woman rotation, and so kind of speak to how you were able to like just manage in that last semester before having to then go to your next school to finish your college, collegiate career.
So mentally, like that was tough. Just that whole first year mentally, or coming back the second year, mentally was tough because, you have an expectation for yourself as well. So I kind of like let myself down. And I felt bad for my teammates too, because we had a really good, close. And they're like, "What's going on? Like, what happened?" Like, I was like, out here tripping. So, mentally, I just had to just focus. But like I said in the beginning, like I've always been a person to be like, all right, I still can play. I just gotta play hard. Like I was always still trying to earn my place back in the rotation, like where I was. So I just had to be like, I put myself in this position. I gotta get myself out of this position. And I just was kind of, focused on that. And finish out the season or whatever. And at that point, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I didn't know.
So quick question. So try to compare or contrast your senior year in high school. Like, okay, what's next? I know I want to play ball at the next level. To now your sophomore year at a junior college. Now you're like, hey, I got a taste of this college thing. I kind of know how it works. So what was that hunger of listen, I need to go and I need to get a full ride somewhere and let's get it. Like time is of the essence.
That was it was like I almost got to a point where I was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Really?
And yeah, I did kind of get to that point, but then I continued to play. So after the season, I joined another team and outside of my team, but it was different. I don't know what the team was called, but it was college athletes, and we would go play in tournaments. And so from those tournaments, and my friend was like, okay, we have this tournament. And it was women that were in our division at our JUCO. So from those tournaments,
Sorry. So this is after your sophomore season, you guys were doing
after
this.
my sophomore season.
I've never heard of it before, but go ahead, please share more. More.
So, okay. After my sophomore season, and I went and played in this tournament, and from that tournament, I don't remember what tournament it was. That's when I started getting offers rolling in. But backtrack. Meanwhile, when I was in college at the JUCO, my assistant coach, she told me that I had, after my first year, had people looking at me. So she was like, I was like, oh, okay. But then I didn't play
the grades.
So yeah, so I don't know what happened to those people, but these are major names, or not major names, but they were big schools. And so, and I remember, she's showing me some of the letters, you have this, and this, because we had a talk about, she was really good at checking on her mental health and what we thought that we could bring to the team. So she would always sit down with us and be like, okay, what's your strength? What do you feel like you bring to this team? So we would have these conversations. And so she was telling me that, there were teams that were looking at me, but after I messed up, after that first year, all that kind of went away. So, and then, I'm struggling to play in the lineup. So I really didn't know what I was going to do, which mentally, that took a toll. So I was just like, well, I don't know. If I play, I play. If not, I might have to get a regular job.
Or take some loans out or something. Take some more loans to get through the rest of the undergrad.
Yeah. And then I was working at a hotel in the summertime. I was like, maybe I'll do this. But like I said, I played in this tournament, and then after that, I had letters just coming in from different places. And I just went with the one that gave me the most money. Because me having to pay for that semester, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I went with the one that gave me the most money, and that's how I ended up in West Virginia with you at Bluefield State
Yeah.
College.
Yeah, you were at Bluefield State College, and I ended up at Bluefield College, which is
Yeah.
an NAIA school, and you were at Division II school.
Yeah.
NCAA Division II. So, okay, so they gave you the most money. So you had a list of offers after you played in that tournament. However, you know, Bluefield State was one of my, hey, listen, we'll give you more money.
Yeah,
you're like, I'll jump on that.
Yeah, because at that point for me, it was like, okay, if all else fails, I have to get a scholarship and or get an education, and I need my education paid for because school is very expensive, and that was, you know, and I was thinking of that, and I was at a JUCO, you know,
Right.
so the cost of a JUCO is, you know, way less than you know, big university or so like that was my goal, was to get the most money that I can.
Right.
Otherwise I wouldn't be able. And so yeah, that's how I ended up in West Virginia. And
wow. So sorry to cut you off again. I know I do that. Apologies. So just kind of take us through your journey, your last 2 years that you have, and now you're at, you know, Bluefield State College. You're playing, you know, you're a junior now, so you have experience. You know, you can't play with your grades. You have to keep it up on the court, as well as your mental space. Like, you had a coach in high school and college, JUCO, that really helped you kind of like condition and strengthen your mental health, whether you knew it or not, whether you knew how important it was or not. They did help you think through that. So, like, how did you finish out your college, your college years, your collegiate career?
Well, I went there. So, like going to West Virginia, first time, I didn't visit. I didn't do any of that. I just was like, they got the most money. That's where I'm going. So it was kind of like a culture shock for me. Like I wasn't prepared for how different of a lifestyle that I would live in West Virginia. And even me finding, because in my head, my naive head, I was like, oh, I'm in Virginia. It's going to be like, you know, Virginia, the Norfolk. I wasn't thinking West Virginia, mountain town. So, yeah. So I land there. My coach comes pick me up. We have to drive like 2 hours, hour and a half from the airport or whatever. And so the first thing I was like, okay, where are our dorms? They're like, oh, we don't have dorms. We have this housing outside of campus. And so I was like, oh, okay. All right. This is different. I'm used to dorms. I'm used to like our meal plans. I'm used to like all that stuff. So with that school, they didn't have any of that because it was a struggle.
Like, the structure was just for like academics. Like, so you didn't have a cafe there either? I didn't know you guys didn't have a cafe.
We have a cafe that did not serve
what?
Food. Or like we never ate in the cafe. We did not have that. So how I survived, like financially, like I did the Pell Grants and stuff like that. My coach, he was just an angel. We butted heads, and he was like an angel when he looked out for us as far as like, you know, us being fed in the house and stuff like that. He would do a lot. He also gave us like work studies and stuff like that. But yeah, so getting there, culture shock. Then I came from a winning program at my JUCO program that was not good at all.
Now, did you know that going in, or did you just found out, like, did you look at like the record or like some footage of them, or you just said most money, D2, I'm going. I'm not even questioning the record.
And it was I kind of just went, but it was also because it was like I had to make it. I was actually deciding between two schools, and when that second offer came in with the more money, I was like, I have to make the decision because like I gotta be there in like a month or something, like, you know. So I just kind of was like, all right, this is it. So I kind of did like a little bit of research, but not, not that much. And I just really didn't think we would be that bad. We would struggle that much. But I learned a lot in that situation, from coaching style to just mentality of a winning team and a mentality of a losing team. And you always want to be on the winning team.
Always.
It's a better feeling. So that was a struggle for me mentally, because mind you, I've already played 2 years of college. So these other women that were coming in, some of them their first year, so the maturity that they did not have kind of affected like our team. And I had previous experience, and I knew what we needed to do to like win or whatever. And it's hard to teach that sometimes when there's other factors going on too. But
right.
Yeah. Did I answer the question? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you did. You did. I also want to point out that, and I think I may be wrong, but you did go to HBCU, right? Wasn't that HBCU? So shout out to
yes,
Bluefield State College, HBCU.
However, it was not the HBCU. Well, technically it was a HBCU, but a lot of the
minority
there were not minorities. It was probably like 10% minorities, and the other 90 was not minorities. So that was the difference too. But I did go to the HBCU. So.
Nice. All right. So were there any other challenges that you experienced throughout your junior and senior year? I know you talked about the incoming freshmen and having to kind of mentor them. And it's hard because, they're 18, 19 coming in, like they know everything. And you're like, listen, I've been there. Let me just I know how we can kind of turn our season around or turn our team around. But of course, you're not the coach, and also you're a transfer. So being a transfer also a little different too. You're like, you didn't grow in the program. You're coming into the program, So that can also be kind of challenging. So kind of speak to that if you can, if you haven't already.
The biggest thing for me was coaching styles. From my coach at my JUCO, he was very like, these are the plays, run the plays. I don't really care how you get the ball where it needs to get. Just get the ball to the open person and make the play. He was very good on like making the play, run. Like he was a hard nosed coach, if I guess that makes sense. And so he like just instilled in me just to go, just go, do what you're supposed to do, and be where you're supposed to be, because if not, you're gonna break down the play and everything like that. Where when I got to my junior or my Bluefield, my 4th year, he was very technical. Like he was very like, if you pass, your wrist needs to be pointed down to the ground. Like you need to have your like it. And that structure for me was difficult, because even from high school, which I don't know if he should have been doing this, but my high school coach, he was like, cuff the ball. Like he was more like, more like relaxed, like it wasn't like technical discipline. It was more like, use your athletic ability to do what you got to do the play. In my 4-year school, he was very like
by the book.
Yeah, I felt like a robot out there. So I remember we would spend hours practicing passing, like overhead passes, bounce passes, just passing all day, where I wasn't used to that. In my other practice, we would just basically run plays and scrimmage all day. And so that was difficult. And I think that's where we kind of like bumped heads. I'm like, because in my head, which as a player, you kind of think you know everything. I'm like, it doesn't matter how I get the ball there if I get the ball to the open person, even if I do it throw behind my head, like, you know.
Right.
And I think our team lacked discipline, whereas our my JUCO team, our team was very disciplined. Like if you're late, you run, like, you know, like we had to be like this. And it was a lot of structure at the JUCO, whereas the other one, it was like you're trying to instill discipline, but people are not listening. And then I don't know how to explain it, but it was our team lacked discipline, and I feel like that is a big thing that you need when you want to win. And so yeah, we struggled with that. So all that was like a learning lesson, and I never really lost from high school. I never really lost like that. I mean, I may have like a season that we were like, you know, a little over 500 or something, but I never had a season. So that like really took it back. Like, oh, how are we losing like this? Like this doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I never experienced that. And I mean, I guess I'm happy that I got to experience that because now I have like a whole different mindset.
Yep. Different experiences, and like it helps you on beyond your college years, because we know, you know, college one day is going to end. We're going to be in the real world, and you know, often get that job offer that you want, or you know, going to kill the interview or get the position that you want. So sometimes it's kind of okay to kind of learn from those life lessons. Yeah, it was tough because you came from winning programs, and you're also like, I know you're a competitor, like you compete with everything. So you're a born competitor. So for you to lose, like I remember you should be pissed. Like I couldn't even talk to you for like a day or two. Like I'm like, it's every game though. Y'all every game so you can't.
I know. Just imagine all the emotion that goes into you know, out there, and it's like you're giving your all and still coming up short. I was.
It hurts. It hurts. So that was pretty consistent for your junior and senior year, right? Pretty much consistent. Nothing really changed from junior to senior year at Bluefield State.
No, as far as like academically, my mindset changed. Like I was like, okay, I got to do this, and that's actually when I picked my major, which was criminal justice. It was something that I was interested in, so I went for it. But I really wanted to do something more in like kinesiology or something, but our school didn't have that program. You know, and I was focused on the money when I decided to go there. So that was like a driving force, which if, you know, I could have went to a place that has something that was more desirable for me, I probably would have went that route and tried to figure it out. But, you know, I'm happy with what I did in life. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's important to know. I mean, but it took me a while to figure out like even what I wanted to major in. It took me a while to understand like, oh, okay, there's bachelor's of science and bachelor's of art. Like it took me a while to know the college structure and like what you need to do in those college structures. Because like I said, I didn't have a mentor. I was just going through it. And so I wish I had someone who could like steer me in a direction.
Right. I mean, don't we all? I mean, this is what I created this community for, is because like these young athletes, male, female, you know, it's a lot, you know. And also this kind of leads me to my next question I want to ask you, and just kind of get your thoughts on it. You know, things are changing now. You know, I mean, we're a bit seasoned, and now they're allowing student athletes to get paid for their likeness. And I read articles, someone signed for $1 million contract for some new tech firm, and I think Master P's son signed for like $2 million or something. So I'm like, what? And I don't know too much about it, so I really can't speak like knowledgeable about it. I just read a couple of things here and there, but just want to get your thoughts on that, and then just kind of, you know, speak to what you know about that new process and how you feel about it.
Well, I don't know, like you, I don't know much about the new process, but personally feel like college athletes should get paid. Like, I feel like, especially with these big school, well, to me, it doesn't matter. They're bringing in revenue for the school and everything. And it is a job. It is a full-time job being a student athlete. And I just feel like they should be paid.
So you're all for it?
I'm all for it. Yes, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all for it too. Like,
I don't understand why not? Like, why wouldn't they? You know? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I mean, I've read things and I've been there personally where like you're like, hey, I'm playing ball, I'm in school, I ain't got no food, you know, like what's going on, coach? Like I need something, I need something on the gas, you know, and to be at like a, you know, big like University of Texas or Florida or University of Miami, and you're like trying to just fend for yourself, and you're like, I'm this big name, I'm on TV every Saturday, ESPN, and so but I think one of my fears is just, you know, just those people out there that will take advantage of these young kids who are, you know, from maybe not the best background or upbringing, and like, hey, come here, I'll help you manage your money, or here's a loan, and you know, like, so just being careful and just knowing what you're getting yourself into, I think is very important. Just being knowledgeable and having someone you trust, not just someone
good support system behind you with that.
Yeah, that's very important. If they're young, 18, 19, with $1 million or $100,000, I mean, that's still 50,000 stuff, a lot of money to an 18-year-old. Shoot, to a grown person, that's a lot of money, you know. So like just being wise and having a good support system that's going to have your best interest at heart, because you know it can be tough and it can be a roller coaster. So yeah, just want to kind of get your thoughts on that. Anything else you want to say on that, or anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, I like you said, if there has been times where you're out here like, all right, like how am I gonna, you know, make it by rent? Because we have to pay rent too, but luckily you're in a program that allowed us to, you know, our rent wasn't that much, but it's they're giving a lot, and I feel like they should get something. And education is important, right? And education is experience. And I know people have that argument where like they're getting the education, but our society has changed a lot too when it comes to like your education and the degrees you have. So it's a lot of people that you are competing against still with, you know, degrees when you come out into the real world. So everybody has a bachelor's degree. Not everybody, but you know, a lot of people have a bachelor's degree now, and even a master's, a doctorate, like, you know, so you're really competing. And the old, you know, thing was, okay, go to college, get an education, get this degree, you'll make more money. That's not really the case nowadays. So I feel like these athletes that are going to college, yes, give them an education, and yes, pay them for it, because it's not a guarantee like they used to make you think. Like, it's not guaranteed that, you know, that you'll be able to get the same position and make this amount of money to pay back these loans or whatever you have from there. So I just feel like if they're giving their mind, body, and soul to this sport, to this organization, to this school, they should be compensated for it. I just feel like,
and you also mentioned it, like they bring money to the school, like going to a bowl game, big money for the school, being on TV or doing that, you know, the alumni want to see their team do good. They donate, booster, or here's money here for the. But if you're not doing good, maybe you might not get as much, you know. Or like Alabama wins these bowl games, they're probably the one paying for these new research buildings on campus, or these new facilities on campus. It's through the sports. And if an athlete can get paid for being liked, or have a YouTube channel, or you know, go sign autograph on a Sunday, and get paid for it, I mean, it shouldn't be illegal. But you know, it's this, they have to find a way to tax it, or you know, make it where they can still, you know. So it's just. There
definitely have to be some type of regulation. And just like you said, like you don't want anybody to be taken advantage of, like these young kids trying to make these decisions. So I feel like there has to be some type of, you know, regulation, stipulations in there. But I feel like overall they need to benefit the student athlete. So just make sure they're protected, because that's at the end of the day, it's for them,
Right. All right. So my next question for you is, throughout your journey as a student athlete, what would you say was your like lowest embarrassment, like, moment of like, man, if I can go back, I would have done something totally different, like as a student athlete?
That would be my first, second years of college. Like I definitely would go back and change my whole mindset, even from like playing. Like I wasn't as I was confident, but I wasn't as confident. Like if I knew what I knew now, like I would be way more aggressive. Like I would have been like I would have been Kobe. Okay, no, I'm not
Mamba mentality.
Yeah, but I would have had a whole different mentality. As far as academically, of course, I would have had a whole different mentality. And that it took me a long time to even be able to speak about it, because it really, to me, was embarrassing. Like, how did you fail, Laila? Like, how did you do this? So even a lot of people now still didn't know that was my journey, but so that was like my most embarrassing moment. Oh, and I also did score on the wrong basket, like in high school.
Hold on, in the game? in practice, or like in the game with a referee?
No, like in the game.
How'd that happen? What? Okay, how? Like, were you like you're spinning around?
This was when we were in this Vegas tournament, back in the day.
What happens there stays there.
Yeah, so they shot on their basket, but I was going up. I went up for the rebound and got the rebound, but the girl like was defending me on the wrong side. So me not concentrating, I'm like, why is she? Like, I'm going.
Oh my God.
So it was like, but I just couldn't understand why she was defending me on the other side. I was like, oh, and this is just after, halftime. So, how we get switched basket.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was still going to that same basket.
Yeah, that's funny.
Mental lapse, y'all. Mental lapse.
Mental lapse. That's funny. That's funny.
The game is about 85% mental. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So next question. What was your most like highest achievement or like award, or like, man, I'm proud of that moment? Like through, whether it's middle school, before high school, in high school, and college, what would be like your highest moment? Like, man, like I really did that, that was me. Like a game, a game winning shot. I mean, something, anything, or an award. Like maybe you won most improved player, or best teammate.
I did win some awards, but I can't remember exactly what they were. Mm-hmm. I was for the second school, I was like All-American or something like that. So that was cool. Mm-hmm. But I guess some of the games where I had like doubles and stuff like those, I like those games. I really like the awards are cool, but like when I played really well, like it was a different feeling. Like I was really happy about that. And like even I've always had weird stuff happen to me. Like I scored about 6 points or something like that with one of my shoes that fell off, in the game.
What?
So yeah, like I would never tie my shoes either. So that's weird stuff. I would get my ankles wrapped, but I would never tie my shoes. So my shoes would sometimes fall off. Well, not all the time, but like somebody stepped on my shoe and it was off, but I had to keep playing because the ref didn't, stop the game. So within that, like I was able to score and, still score, like, but the ref never knew my shoe was off. So he never like stopped the game. And I remember my coach was there, he's like, her shoe is off, but he wasn't paying attention. So
right.
And we were like doing a full court press, and so it was
6 points with one shoe. That's that'll make top 10 for real. Yeah. Like ESPN. Was that in high school or your JUCO or at your
No,
4 years?
that was at the blue field. That was at
Oh,
blue
okay. I didn't know
field.
that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so that I think I even have it like on film,
Oh,
like in my
wow.
closet. Yeah. So
Wow.
that was fun. That was like,
Okay.
oh, I scored on you with one shoe on, you know.
Yeah. So after Bluefield, like, did you have any aspirations to play ball at the next level? Like, were you like, man, I know I did this 4 year thing, and I finished, I'm graduating. Did you want to play at that level, or were you like, you know what, ball has took me far enough. I appreciate you, but it's time to enter the real world.
No, I did want to play next level. And at one point, I want to say it was like going into my junior league, there was a team that travels overseas to play, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to come play? But this is, the schedule." I was like, "Well, I can't." Like, I wanted to finish school,
Right.
so I didn't go because I was like, I've come this far, like I need to finish, get this degree. And then, so that was a tough decision, I guess. But once I got focused on like me having to complete school and get this degree, like that's kind of where I went with it. And yeah, so I had that opportunity, but I ended up choosing school.
So after your senior year, did anything come up? Like, did that team come back around? Hey, are you still available? Or did you try to go to any like exposure camps or anything like that? Or were you like,
no, because after my senior year, because I messed up my first year, I had to do one more year of school. So in that year, like I became the assistant coach to the team that I played.
Oh, I forgot. Really? You were coaching with Coach B, Coach Brown?
Yeah.
I forget. I was, by that time I was far removed. I was like, listen, I got to figure out life. Okay, so by being assistant coach, did you still get your school? Like, was school free for you still, or were you having to pay?
Yeah.
Okay. So
well, it was because at that point I got a cross country scholarship.
Hold on, what? Dang, you missed the game, huh? You're like, that's smart though. Why not?
Yeah.
If you got the skill set, why
not?
Well,
our coach made us. We didn't have a cross country team, so in order for our school to qualify to go to like nationals and stuff like that, all the sports have to be played, and we didn't have a cross country team. So our coach would volunteer us as like preseason training to do cross country. So when I didn't have basketball, he ended up giving me the cross country scholarship. So I would have to compete in cross country. And that's how I was able to pay for the school for the last year.
To finish up. Nice. So that's
and we were terrible at cross country, okay?
Worse than basketball?
Yes. We and our guys and girls team had to do it. So we would go out to these cross country meets, we would run because we had to compete. Everybody had to compete and train and but we just
cross country? Yeah, like 400, 200. Okay, we can probably do the hurdles, long cross country.
Cross country. I think we were running like 5Ks. We were doing 5Ks or whatever.
5K. Okay.
So that's how I was end up able to pay for my first or my last year of school and all that. And yes, that's how I got that.
Okay, cool. All right, so you kind of touched on that a little bit already. So just to kind of flush it out if you want to, or you like already got that already answered. But we all know hindsight is 2020. So if you can go back, I think you already mentioned one particular part, but like you could go back to high school again, like high school, like what decision would you have, or what would you have done differently to maybe get a different outcome? Not saying your outcome was bad, because here you are today, telling your testimony and sharing your journey with us. So, but what would you have done different if you could go back?
I definitely would have like the Mamba mentality. I would definitely be more strategic. I would be more aggressive. I would have liked to have more direction as far as what I want to do in life, period. Being an athlete, so it just, hindsight in 2020, it's just so many things. I would have the confidence. Like I had to build my confidence over time. I wish I kind of like stepped out with the confidence. Because at one point, I was really good at defense, but my offensive game, I was like, I could have did way more offensively. But I just wasn't confident enough. So I would have practiced more. I would have really honed in and focused and be like, and just yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you would have like basically eat, sleep, and breathe basketball. You were like, hey, on the weekends, I'm shooting free throws.
Yeah.
Kobe's mentality. Sometimes, I mean, rest in peace. And he rests in perfect peace. And the way, like, I just listen to his speeches or reading stuff about Kobe, the way the man loved the game. Like, I mean, he gave the game his all. Like, he worked when people were not watching. Like, when lights is on and cameras on, to him, that's fun time. His grind was at night in the dark, shooting 1,000 shots, or waking up at 4 a.m. working out, and then going to work out with the team. That was his mentality. I mean, they go to Atlanta, travel, the team going to Magic City and turning up, and he's like, no, I'm gonna be in the room. I order a little room service, and I'm watching film. And like he put in the work, and I mean, and he always said, he said, I was obsessed with basketball. Like, you have to have like that type of obsession where like almost unhealthy. Like, are you okay? like are you all right? So
you're looking a little weird. But and just being confident. Like I was a shy, and I'm still shy. So I was shy and kind of reserved, and I just wish I was just more confident to just really bust out of my shell at an earlier age and just go for it and just like put the work in. And because I feel like the sky would have been the limit, like if I would have just did things differently. But I wouldn't be who I am today without the experiences that I've had throughout life, because my journey was not the typical college journey. My journey was very much ups and downs, very much a lot of learning curves. And I'm happy for it. I met good people on this journey. Like I met good people. I feel like if I didn't take this journey the way I did, I would have never met the people that I did. Right. Be able to talk about this. And even when I went into coaching, that took my mindset into a whole other aspect. Like coaching, I never realized how much you could want for a person to win or succeed than ever when you're coaching, because I was like, it was so frustrating when someone can do something, but they just close away and they just can't get it. And then when they finally do get it, you're like, yes. Yeah. So coaching made me have like a different outlook on the overall game of basketball and just sports period, because it's a different mentality. It's a different being, and I really appreciate that.
Right. And oh, sorry, cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, you good. That was it.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, and just like to your point about people's journey, and I think it's very important to say, like, a lot of these athletes that you were a beast. Like, you could have played at a division school, at a mid-major, at a big school. So people say like, oh, I went to NI, I played D2. No, like, I'm serious. Like, everyone has a reason why they're where they are, right? Someone at Newfield College, or someone at this school, or other schools are like, I'm here because I didn't pass the SAT, or I didn't do well enough, or I had a child in high school, or I got like people are where you are for a reason. However, you have to be grateful for where you are. Like, I always tell people, like, be where you stand. Like, if you're standing right now with a Bluefield State jersey on, you wear it with pride. Like, that was be at D1. I take, like, whatever the reason is, you are where you are. So you have to just accept it and be grateful, because someone would give their right arm to wear that jersey that you're like, man, I'm at this deep. No, you're there already, so you might as well do you. And like, there's top talent across different divisions that probably just didn't get looked at, or had a late growth spurt, or had issues academically, or coach was like they butt heads and ended up going, I mean, for whatever reason in the world, they are where they are, and there's talent, great talent. Like I play against talent, I'm like, bro, why are you should be, like, why are you? But it's like,
I know a lot of my teammates, and even like male teammates or male athletes that went to my school, their journeys was crazy, and then they end up being at overseas or you know, D1s and making a name for themselves, and you know, and their journey just keeps on going. So you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know where you're gonna be. You just gotta ride the ride.
Ride the ride, and just appreciate it. You know, like just appreciate it and just do good. You know, like I always say, you put good out there, good come back to you some way, one way or another. It may not be to you directly, but maybe to like your sibling or to your child or to your, I mean, someone you love. Like just do good. You know, like wherever you are. But we're almost done. I know I'm taking too much of your time, so I want to wrap up here.
Good.
So another question is, so for the young Thundercats, for these young athletes out there playing all kind of sports, you know, lacrosse, hockey, basketball, football, like what advice, what gems would you give? I mean, you already give them a lot throughout our session, but just giving you time to just say, hey, you're speaking to them directly, like what would you tell that middle school girl or boy that's like, man, I want to play in college. I don't know how I'm gonna make it there, but I want to make it, you know. And
I would say, number one, like be focused on your mental health. I say be focused on your education, your grades and everything, because you can't get to the college level without being you know, getting the grades and being educated and get that. You have to be able to stay eligible to play. So I would say that. And then as far as like the physical athlete, like just work hard, practice, 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 and give it your all every time you go out there. Like leave no crumbs. Like give it everything. And yeah, that's what I would say. And just and I would also, what is good is to write short-term goals for yourself as far as like what you want to do athletically, what you want to do educational wise for school and stuff. Like these short-term goals allows you to be focused on what you need to do. Like, okay, like this game, I want to work on this, you know, and set those goals and go for them. Like,
right. Thank you for those gems, man. I'm sure it's gonna help someone out there. A lot of people out there can definitely take those gems and apply it to their grind, to their focus, and to their journey. So thank you for sharing that.
And everything is not gonna go your way also, so be able to be fluid within your life, period. Like everything is not going to be black and white. You're going to have to figure some things out, but just have a positive mindset when you do it. Just know that you can get through anything, like honestly. So
right, perfect. Well said. Thank you. So what is Laila up to these days? Like, what are you doing? What do you have going on? Or what do you feel comfortable sharing with our SKaL community?
You know, I'm working, I'm traveling, I am trying to get these entrepreneur endeavors off the ground, and I just enjoying life, you know, and hopefully, you know, this helps people. So, and doing this with Young Today. But yeah, it's working.
All right, grinding. Gotcha. All right, then my last question is, not question, but just any final thoughts from you that you want to share, like maybe a question that I didn't ask you that you wanted to touch on, or a topic that we didn't get to discuss today that you're like, I really want to share this with, you know, a young athlete that's on their way up or may have a chance, or you could like, man, Dada, I've touched on anything. We're good. we can end.
No, I'll just go back to the short-term goals. I feel like that is a good thing. And using techniques like visualization and breathing techniques when you're feeling frustrated and stuff, like really the mental aspect of the game, because I feel like that's about 85-90% of the battle is because sometimes you can get frustrated and that can mentally take you out of the game. So now your frustration is a domino effect. But if you're able to bring yourself in and be like, all right, that was one mistake, but I'm still, good. And I'm not, because for me, I feel like that was sometimes my issue in some games. I'll be so worried about the last play instead of like making new plays. So I would say that.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Let it roll off your back and just keep going. And that's just with everything in life, because you can control what you can control.
Right. Exactly. And the things you can't control,
don't
stress about it. So well, you're my number three. Thanks for your time and for your knowledge and for sharing on this SKaL platform. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And hopefully you'll have me back.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna bring you back on to talk a little bit more in detail, or about a topic about getting paid for your likeness or what have you, or some questions for you. You'll come back on and we'll just discuss. So thank you.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see you again in the future for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to SKaL, Sports, Knowledge, and Life, a space where we empower student athletes. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe.